Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Fergal.
And we're from Movie Smash.
Comic book movies are having a golden age right now with the MCU.
Movies based on comics aren't necessarily a new thing, but they're a big thing.
Join us every other Tuesday on Movie Smash.
We explore these movies and find some hidden gems.
Every other week, we revisit some of the best.
And some of the worst movies based on comics or graphic novels.
Was Green Lantern as bad as you remember?
Heck no!
Is Time Cop the most accurate time travel movie ever created?
Absolutely.
Was Mystery Men way ahead of its time?
Should they be revisited? Should they be forgotten?
Join us on Movie Smash and find out. Listen wherever you find your fine podcasts.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All2ReelToo. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame. I'm a fourth-dimensional reptilian from the Draco star system. Oh, actually, no, I'm a fifth-dimensional being from the planet Saturn, which is actually a spiritual conscious being that controls the reptilians, and the reptilians work for the planet Saturn, which is a conscious creature, and Saturn is what makes human beings hate each other, and the reason why the Earth is terrible when it comes to violence and all kinds of other exploitation and manipulation in Carta.
Okay, well, thank you for listening to All2ReelToo. That's... I think we said everything we needed to say. Just joking.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows.
Yeah. Yeah, folks. So today is a little bit of a different episode. We normally cover, like movies with Larry the Cable Guy or shit like that. Sometimes we do documentaries, and today is one of them. Mm-hmm. We are covering a TV documentary from 2006 that was called David Icke, Was He Right? The short synopsis here on the Internet Movie Database is: looking at the life of David Icke thus far, a camera crew follows him as he reflects on his newfound fame as a conspiracy theorist. We get to hear the thoughts of his family and watch as he prepares for a lengthy talk in front of a live audience at London's Brixton Academy. This was directed by Norman Hull, who is like a documentary filmmaker in Great Britain a lot. He's it's nothing that anybody's going to know really that he's done. And mostly likes like a lot of TV documentaries, probably for like the BBC or something. I don't know if I think this was on the BBC. I'm not 100% sure, but it was almost 20 years ago that it was on. So
right. Wow.
Yeah. And so this movie features David Icke as himself. There's no actors in the movie. We've got Terry Wogan as himself in archive footage. We've got George W. Bush as himself in archive footage. We got Linda Atherton as David's ex-wife. We got Pamela Richards as David's then current wife, who's now his ex-wife. We got Gareth Icke, David's son, and many others, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some other people,
Jamie's
Jamie, his son Jamie as well. But yeah, it's like So, what are your thoughts on this? You brought this to my attention. I had never heard of this, so yeah.
Yeah, just because I couldn't really think of anything else to choose. But like, since we're kind of living in an age where pretty much everyone now believes in some kind of conspiracy theory, one or another, I thought it was kind of pertinent to what's going on. So I have a complicated relationship with David Icke. I don't mean like we dated or anything like that. I just mean like
I thought this was going to be like a revelation here.
Right. One time he kept calling me. I blocked his number, and then he found this. The whole thing. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding. No, I have a complicated relationship with David Icke because there was a period of time where I really did like his work, but I never really completely agreed with them on pretty much a lot of stuff I actually just like. For example, he uses right-wing sources a lot, but he claims that he's not right-wing, but sometimes he does use left-wing sources. He claims he's not. He basically thinks he's like a free thinker, but that's whatever. That's the whole, I'll get into that. But like, so, you know, for like, I don't know, maybe a good 2 or 3 years, I was watching a lot of his speeches, lectures, whatever you call them. But sometimes they go on for, I mean, like 6-7 hours because he goes through so many different topics and stuff. I read a few of his, probably about 5 or 6 of his books, but they're like huge books. So it takes a while to kind of get through. Like, I stopped reading the one I started reading like 5 years ago, which is like 800 pages long. I'm not going to get through it. Like, it's too long. It's too long of a book. But, and so, you know, watching this kind of like brought me back a little bit to like maybe like 2009, 2010, when I was kind of at my sort of David Icke peak, if you will. And I remember watching this documentary at the time. And so I'm not like 100% unbiased when it comes to the subject, because I think there's always going to be a part of me that still somewhat likes him, you know. Like, even though I'm like very left wing now, and I don't really believe like in reptilians or anything like that. But
well, reptilians do exist, just not as.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like, you know, it's like there are like, you know, alligators and lizards and things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
They you know, I learned all about that in one of the other movies that we looked into called Night at the Creation Museum.
That's right. Yeah, we just reviewed that.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Anyways, this documentary was interesting. It's a short one. It's like 40-ish minutes, and some change. And yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, I had read a lot about David Icke in the past. He's one of the most well-known, I guess, crazy conspiracy theorists out there.
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, he is a smart guy, but he's also a racist and you know, anti-Semite.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah,
We'll get into that.
yeah. So yeah, there's that stuff going on there. But yeah, I guess I can see somewhat of his charisma that draws people to him, but also he doesn't seem like somebody I'd want to, you know, spend some time with. So
Yeah, like maybe like an hour, but like, you know, like,
I mean, he
but
does
not like,
in the movie. He does like a 7-hour lecture. I mean, not you know, we didn't see the whole thing, but like it culminates with him going to a 7-hour lecture, and I'm just like, wow.
the day when people like treat it like it's a weekend, because like his earlier stuff, his speeches were like 2 hours long, which that's a decent long enough time when you're really getting into like a lot of topics. But then they kept getting longer. Then it was 3 hours, then it was 4 hours, then it was 5 hours, and it was 6 hours. I think a few years ago, maybe like 10 or so years ago, he clocked out at like 9 hours. I'm like, okay, come on. But we'll get into it. But like, that's kind of what cults do, because they wear you down by exhausting, and then you eventually just start agreeing, which is weird because then he himself talks about cults and how they do things. Like, one of the things he talks about in his book, and he repeats over and over in his books, is that repetition is a cult tactic. But then he repeats himself in the book about repetition being a cult tactic, you know? So it's like he's like revealing, showing his hand like a little bit there, you know? Like,
it's like, I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to still point it out. You know, it's like, there's a lot of times too. It's like, that happens with a lot of people, like in politics and other things too, where they'll basically blame other people and say, okay, this person's doing this while they're doing it to you as well. You know, it's just, yeah.
it's both and deflect.
Yeah. So what goes on in this documentary? I mean, we don't have to probably go like, you know, beat by beat or anything, but yeah.
It's like what goes on in this documentary, like it's a movie. Like, well, so like I'll do a brief. I'll try to be brief about this. So like, he talks about his early life. He kind of came from a working class family. When he was maybe like 15 or so, he auditioned to join like a soccer league or football league rather, and they picked him up because he was just really good goalkeeper. He was just naturally athletic, and so he became a professional soccer/football player for, I don't know, a couple of years of his life. And then when he was like around like, I think 17, 18, his knee went out, and then he went to go to the doctor, and they told him that he had rheumatoid arthritis, you know, pretty young age to have that. And so that was it, you know, he couldn't play anymore professionally. So then he went to become a journalist, which is probably where
the same thing happened to me. Yeah. I mean, I didn't try out for the a soccer team. I didn't grow up in, you know, Great Britain. I have arthritis though.
Yeah, but it's not. But you didn't get it when you know, did you?
What's that?
You didn't get it when you were 17, though, right?
No, I was just diagnosed with it a couple years ago. But so yeah, same thing exactly. So I totally relate to him. I also started a conspiracy theory where I think every human is a bird. I mean, only the elite people. I mean, not every human. The elite people are birds. Yeah.
Right. There you go. But birds apparently don't exist, though, according to one conspiracy theory. So
exactly.
That means there are no elites and there are no birds. So what are the birds then, or what looks like birds that fly around?
They are cameras.
No way.
And the elite people are just bigger cameras.
Actually, though, there's a little truth to that, because the CIA back in like the 60s or so actually were like trying to train birds, like put like tiny cameras on them to like spy on like the Union or some shit like that. So there's actually a little that's the same right there about conspiracy theories. There's always not always, but there's usually some kind of kernel of truth to them, and then they kind of just run with it, and they build upon that basic. So like that right there, the birds being cameras is somewhat true a little bit, but like they didn't do it because obviously you can only train a bird to do so much, and you could just shoot a bird down, with a gun. So it's not exactly the best technique, but so that's why
I also believe guns aren't real.
What, guns aren't real?
Yeah.
Who does all the school shootings and all the other mass shootings? Only in America, by the way. It doesn't really happen that much in other countries, but none
of that exists.
So they're just crisis actors or whatever.
No, we don't even exist.
We don't even exist. So now we're not even. So now reality is subjected to the point that we ourselves don't even exist.
Yeah, this podcast doesn't exist.
But if we're talking, then how are we talking then if it doesn't exist?
It's not really us talking.
Oh, okay. I'm confused now.
Me too.
But, yeah, there you go. That's your conspiracy theory book right there. You just nothing but confused. So he goes to journalism school. That's probably where he learned to write, because he is a pretty good writer. Like I said, I've read about 6 of his books, and he's a pretty decent writer. He writes simply, but I don't think it's because he's only able to write simply. I think he does it on purpose so that his books are more accessible to pretty much any audience, And then he went into broadcasting, which that probably helped him doing speaking, So he kind of doing those things kind of led into what he does now in a very indirect way. Oh, and there was a period of time when he was actually the leader of the British Green Party for a couple of years back in the early 90s, 89 to like 91.
Yeah, I read that. I thought that was interesting.
Very interesting. There's actually a really good speech that he does where, excuse me, I'm like 8 hot dogs earlier, so now my throat's like, ugh. No, but like he actually did a great speech advocating for a animal rights bill, and just talking about like how corrupt like the meat industry is and all that kind of stuff. And so that was like a really stirring speech that he did, and that was just probably a few months before he kind of lost his mind. In my opinion, I know I'm not a doctor, but like he exhibits a lot of characteristics that people would associate with schizophrenia, and I don't mean that to be like sarcastic or an insult. I just mean like the stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to diagnose people. I mean, obviously, you're not a doctor unless you went to medical school. Since the last time I talked to you,
but that was yesterday, so no, I didn't. No, I didn't go to no. And so like he claims that for like a few months, he was having this issue where he just kind of felt on edge all the time, and he just felt like there was like a presence like watching him, but it like wasn't like physical. And it got to the point when he was in the hotel room that he just couldn't take it anymore. And so he just spoke audibly to whatever was there, or nothing, was like, would you please tell me what you are or what you want from me, because you're driving me up the wall. And then shortly after that, in his mind, he starts having all these experiences that like all connect to this new mission in life or whatever. So the first thing was that he went to a bookstore with his son, and his son went to the comic book section, and then he went to like the spiritual, like new age section, and he wasn't really even into that stuff at the time, but he felt drawn in his story. He felt drawn to that section. And then he found like a book of a psychic called Betty, I forgot her name, Betty something. And she did like hands-on healing as well, because she claimed that she could heal people through like spiritual stuff, whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so he went to make an appointment with her, because she also took like, quote, patients or clients or whatever. And he told her that he just wanted her to help him with this arthritis, but he was really trying to test her to see if she was like, and really had psychic abilities, And so according to his story, again, this is his narrative, I'm not saying it's true, this is what he says, is that she like kind of freaked out because this huge presence was around him, and she had to like pay attention to what the spirit was telling her or whatever, and just basically told her that David's like a prophet. I mean, without saying those words, but pretty much that's what. Like he's gonna change the world, or he's gonna speak in front of thousands of people, and just all this other stuff, and that he's gonna write 5 books in 3 years or something along those lines. He did, but a lot of these books were like 100 pages long, so it's like he was like trying to fulfill the prophecy, basically. In my opinion,
similar experience to this too. There was one day where I was walking down the street, and this guy was talking to himself, and one of the things he said is, "I'm a psychic," and then the other thing he said, start a pop culture podcast.
Yeah, and it happened,
and that's what happened.
It happened.
Yep. So it works.
Right. And so this starts his journey, his mission, but it didn't start with conspiracy stuff. It started with a new age kind of thing. So he got really into like crop circles. That was like in the 90s. That was a big thing among like new age people.
Oh yeah.
At the early 90s, that was a really huge thing. Like a lot of people were talking about that so-called aliens were making crop circles of like different symbols, and it was supposed to mean something, I guess. I don't really remember, but like I remember my mom talking about it, and I remember seeing stuff on TV about it at the time. And he also started wearing turquoise all the time, like not jumpsuits, but like workout clothes, because he believed that like turquoise was like a positive color that like brought you positive vibes and energy or something like that. So he was always wearing like this turquoise and like pink with like pink stripe, it was like a running, like a workout outfit, like a running jogging kind of outfit or whatever. And he would wear that pretty much everywhere he went for like, I don't know, like a year or two. And then he wrote this book called The Truth Vibrate, and it's a decent book. It's just like a new age thing. It's really nothing to it. I mean, it's nothing different that you would read from any other new age author at the time. But, it was interesting. He had some interesting ideas. And then he wrote another one called Love Changes Everything. And then it was similar to, that, but then there was like a little bit more, addition to it. And then like 94, he goes into the conspiracy shit, and I don't know what drew it to him. I don't know what it was, because like for 3 years, he was just doing this new age stuff. And he was calling himself the son of the Godhead. And so there's this moment that kind of changed his life, because he went on a show called the Terry Wogan Show, and he was like a talk show host, like really popular. And he had David Icke on to basically humiliate him. That was the reason for having him on the show. And so David's going through his whole spiel, about, whatever. And then Terry says, the press claims that you claim that you're the son of God. And it's like, but that's not what it said. Son of the Godhead. And if you actually do any research, he's specifically talking about new age type of spirituality. But then when they say son of God, they're making people think it's like some Christian thing, but that's not what he was even talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like defend him. Well, I am trying to defend him in a that like, I mean, it's accurate.
I read that too, and I mean, the way that it comes across even in the documentary is that he was saying he was the son of God, not the Godhead. But it was just kind of interesting. Yeah.
So a new age thing. I mean, he was setting himself up to be like more important than other people, but he wasn't like really saying it directly. So like what he would say, and I think it was from a different talk show host. He said something like, everyone's like the sons and daughters of like the Godhead, but some people are directly created from the Godhead, and then other people are created from the creation of the Godhead. So essentially saying people are created from him. So it's still a way of saying that he's better. I mean, he's like, I don't think I'm better than anyone else. I just think I'm better than everyone else. It's like, but you just said whatever.
I don't think I'm better than anyone else, but I think everybody was made based on me.
From me, but to be fair, he says there's other sons of Godhead too. So it's not just him. So he thinks Jesus is one of these characters.
So he's not better. He's not better than everybody. He's just like kind of equal with like Jesus and other people.
Equal with Jesus. There was this thing called the Ascended Masters. That was a new age thing where they believed that Jesus was one of many of these beings called the Ascended Masters, and that they had like superior.
Yeah, great name for a band.
What's that?
The Ascended Masters. That would be a great name for a band.
Absolutely, it's a great band. And so he kind of goes through this for a while, and then I don't know what it was. 94. he writes this book called The Robots Rebellion, and it's his first book on conspiracy theories, and it's really long. It's like 500 pages long or something like that. And it's the standard fare Bilderberg stuff, the one world government, new order, Illuminati, your normal conspiracy shit. But there's a little hang up here because he decided, for whatever reason, to add the entire text of the protocols of the learned elders of Zion in the book itself, like literally just like a chapter dedicated to just reprinting.
Which if you're listening and do not know what that is, it's a very, very, it's fictional book that was attributed to Jewish people and used to basically justify racism towards Jewish people for centuries now. Almost. So yeah.
And then it came out that it was most likely written by the secret police in Russia at the time. Like this is before Soviet Union. This is when the Tsar was still the ruler of Russia. And there's a lot of evidence that it may have been commissioned by the Tsar to write against the Jews, to persecute the Jews basically. And so he puts the whole text in the book itself, and then they're like, hey, we can't publish this because that's weird and anti-Semitic. And he's like, no, I'm not being anti-Semitic, I'm just saying that like whoever, so like his way, so he tries to weasel out of this. So this is how he works it out, so how he fixes the anti-Semitism problem. So what he says is that whoever wrote the book or text or whatever actually was working for the New World Order. So everything that person or persons who wrote that text was speaking the truth, but they just blamed it on the Jews so that they made people think that they were the ones who wrote the book. But the book itself is actually true. So that's his way of trying to like have both ways, kind of like,
Yeah.
Anyways, do you want to? I don't think the monopolize.
Well, no, you're good because you know more about him than I do, so it might be easier for you to talk about him. I can pipe in when I have my pipe.
Okay. You could Ike in.
Yes.
And so this is what he starts his new part of his career. But he doesn't drop the new age stuff. So that's interesting. He never drops anything he talks about. He just adds to what he's already talked about. That's why his books get longer and longer, because he just repeats everything he said in his older book, and he just adds in some new things. So like the big thing for a while, I think it was 1998 when it came out, it was called The Biggest Secret. And that's when he introduced his theory that the world is actually secretly ruled by reptilian human hybrid people who look like humans, but they actually are the ones who control everything, because they're like really intelligent species, because they're literally half reptilian, and these reptilians are supposed to be like super advanced beings, like so they come from the
One thing I was questioning about, so like in the documentary, he's talking and he's saying that these people look like reptiles. And then they show like images where it's like George W. Bush next to like some kind of lizard or something like that, and trying to show that they look similar. So I used to be under the impression that it was kind of like a more like V or something, like where they were reptiles underneath their human skin, but I don't understand what his point of view was.
So that was a documentary fault. So in his books and in his speeches at that time, he actually goes into a lot of, like, if you're just bored or whatever, and you just go to like, let's say like you go to chapters of like whatever speech is, there's like an hour and a half of the speeches just dedicated to the reptilian stuff. Like, and then he goes on to everything. Like, so basically, according to him, and he's not the first person to talk about this kind of idea. There's people back in the 80s and 70s that were saying something similar about this. So his theory is that the reptilians mated with human beings thousands of years ago, and then they created these hybrid races, but they look like humans, but occasionally they'll accidentally show their true form, like usually when they're super stressed out, or if they haven't had rest or feasting off of people's energy. That's another big thing, where he thinks that the reptilians are able to like get spiritual energy of people, and that's what allows them to keep their human form. But this
that's
is where it gets,
that's similar to like what years ago, the house I grew up in was haunted, and a friend of mine once told me that I should not move back in because Larry, the ghost who lived there, was feeding off my energy. So do you think Larry was a reptile?
he could have been. No.
Okay.
So this is where it gets dicey though again, because we Dwayne, we talked about the Robots Rebellion and the learned elders of Zion text being in there, right? So there's a problem here. So he swears up and down that he's not anti-Semitic, that he doesn't hate Jewish people. He just hates the bad people who happen to be Jewish, and they just happen to be the people that control the world. But okay, but like, and so what he does, he talks about the reptilians, right?
Yeah.
And the reptilian hybrid humans, right?
Mhm.
And then it just so happens a lot of these reptilian human hybrids happen to be Jewish or have Jewish last names, basically. And they drink human blood, specifically of children. So that's interesting because that's literally
pretty much what the protocols of the Elder Zion say, doesn't it?
No, the blood libel said that. That's even older than the.
It's even older, but is it in the protocols as well?
It might. I don't know. I haven't read it in a long time, but I did read it once, and it's. So these reptilian, but he goes. Well, not all they're not all Jewish. It's just they just happen to choose the Jews for whatever. But then he'll backtrack, and then he'll go back to the theory that, oh, whoever's doing this, they just want to scapegoat the Jews. So they pick the Jews intentionally so that people will be anti-Semitic against them. So technically the Jews are not at fault for being the ones that people say control the world. But he's going to mention all the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories anyway, which then also propels anti-Semitism, but he's not anti-Semitic. It's like, what? Like, it doesn't make any sense, but that's kind of how he does it. And so obviously when that came out, the accusations of anti-Semitism came back because they're like, well, I thought we went over this. I thought you said you were done with this crap, but now 4 years later, not only are you going back to it, you're adding the blood libel shit on top of the protocols that are learned in Elders of Zion. And he's like, no, I'm just talking. I actually literally believe that they are reptilian human hybrids. I'm not saying that they're Jewish. I literally believe that these creatures exist. It's like, okay, but it still doesn't.
And I mean, it just to be fair, not to defend him though, but he does believe other people that are not of Jewish descent or religious belief are part of this reptilian species, like the royal family and the Bushes and the Clintons and stuff like that.
And randomly Boxcar Willie, for some reason, I don't know why, but I guess he just doesn't like him. And then no, I'm not making it up. I'm not making that up. Like, he literally said that. He either wrote it or said it. I don't know. And so, he's getting more and more popular during this time. He never leaves New Age stuff. He still believes in this idea that energy can be transferred. What's that?
So just to be clear, Boxcar Willie, like the American country music singer,
he thinks he's a reptile. I don't know why, but maybe he's like a liberal and didn't like. I don't know exactly his politics, but maybe I don't.
Willie died in Boxcar Willie died in 99. So
that was before he died. Hey, he may have contributed to his death because he exposed him as being a reptilian hybrid, and he had to commit suicide in order to. I shouldn't say that. But
no, he died of leukemia. So it's just like,
it's so like quick thing here. So the only reason why I even know about David Icke in the first place is I saw a clip of his back in like 2007 or something like that on YouTube. That was when YouTube was just getting started out, and like 2 years into it. And there was like a 10-minute clip because he goes on and on. Even when he talks about like a little subject, like it goes on for like 15 minutes. So it was like a 10-minute clip of him like basically just talking about like the law of attraction type spiritual theory. Like,
which is a thing that a lot of grifters have used over the years as a way to get you in. A lot of like multi-level marketing and stuff like that has to do with that.
And to be fair, he actually said it a lot better than Rhonda Byrne did in the Secret movie or book.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean that whole thing, The Secret, and the how to win friends and whatever that is, the book. I have a copy of it somewhere. But yeah, that came out a long time ago. Yeah.
Dale Carnegie, I think.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie book. Yeah, I mean it's the same thing.
Pretty much
same beliefs too. That it's really interesting that the people behind the two guys that started the Chicken Soup for the Soul books believe in too.
I hate those books. But yeah, you're right. It is a great grift because it's so easy. Are you there? Did I? Oh,
Yeah, I'm
did you
still
get
here.
kicked out?
No, I'm still here.
I'm sorry. I thought you got kicked out. I'm sorry.
No.
So I wasn't even looking for like conspiracy stuff at the time. I was kind of interested in that kind of idea for a little bit, and so his video popped up and it was like a 10-minute long video. And so I'm sitting there thinking that that's what he talks about. Like I didn't, because it was a long video. I'm thinking what his whole speech must be about this because it's a 10-minute clip, you know? And so I'm thinking, I have no idea. And then like, I remember a couple of years later, I ended up seeing another thing and I was like confused. I'm like, why is this guy talking about conspiracy theory? Wasn't this the guy I saw a couple of years ago talking about the law of attraction? Like what happened like within 2 years, you know? And it just turns out that that's just part of his thing. He has never really renounced those kind of like
I said, it's a typical grift for like any like cult leaders and other people use it a lot to get people interested in their beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then that's how I started watching the conspiracy stuff because you know, again, he's got this weird, it's charisma, but it's almost like an anti-charisma. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like he talks very boringly, but at the same time, you want to keep listening. I don't really know how else to describe it. Like he's not like Alex Jones, he doesn't scream, he doesn't pound his fist, like, you know, he's not that kind of a guy, conspiracy theorist, you know.
It's a similar quote unquote charisma to like Donald Trump in a way.
It is. It's just like there's something about him again because he learned this in broadcasting when he went to study that in journalism. So he just took his knowledge from that, put it into his new career, which he's been doing for the past 30 years. It does more like 34 years. And
yeah, I mean,
I started getting.
It's like 73 years old now. So yeah,
he's a little bit on the older side, and he really got into fame when 9/11 happened because everyone was getting into 9/11. Like people who are a little bit on the younger side, they need to understand that like after 9/11 happened, like everyone was into the conspiracy stuff. It wasn't just right wingers. I remember left wingers getting into 9/11 conspiracy theories around that time. Like people were like socialist communists. Like it wasn't just the right wing who were into that shit because it was such a catastrophic and traumatizing event that people didn't know how to deal with it, you know, grieve or just how to process it. And so conspiracy theories is a way that a lot of people turn to. I remember, I don't know who said it, but someone made a good point a long time ago. It's not me, I'm not taking credit for it, but they said basically in some weird twisted way, conspiracy theorists actually kind of like the idea of like the elites controlling the world because at least that means someone's in control of the chaos as opposed to just it being chaos. Like, you know.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And of course they don't like that. He balks at that because someone actually said that once to him and he's like, no, it's not true. You know, it really is a conspiracy, you know. And so he writes this book called Alice in Wonderland and the World Trade something. I don't remember the exact title, but it had something. Alice in Wonderland was part of the title, and the whole book's pretty much about debunk conspiracy theories, like it can't melt steel or steel beams or you know whatever. That was one of the big ones.
Like where it's an inside job and this other shit. Yeah,
it was inside job. So there was all kinds of theories. Some of them they contradicted each other. So some people were saying that they hired the people to do the terrorist attack and just basically killed themselves, like become martyrs. And then other people were saying that the planes were empty, but it was being remote controlled, which like remote control a jet like that. I mean,
yeah,
especially maybe now technology, but 2001, I don't think so. And so some of them were saying that there was nobody on the planes. They just used it to crash into the towers to then blame it on the Muslims so that then they could use that as a justification to attack the Muslim world, which again, like I said earlier, there's oftentimes a kernel of truth to conspiracy theories and they just kind of run with it. So again, for our younger audiences, I don't know how much younger they are. So a few months before 9/11 happened, the Bush administration had actually got intelligence saying that Osama bin Laden is planning an imminent attack, and the methods for said attack was to hijack airliners like commercial jet, and then to use those to fly into build. And then they quote unquote ignored that intelligence, which again, I'm not sure if they ignored it or if they just intentionally didn't. Because like, oh, well, now we have an excuse to go, you know. But see, there's a difference between ignoring something and then using the aftermath to then go to your agenda than actually you directly causing the thing to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think that's
it's the whole thing behind like the whole Afghanistan and Iraq wars that had nothing to do with Osama bin Laden, and it's very similar to what's going on with Israel right now too, where they basically take an event to create a whole situation.
Yeah, it's literally like the Hamas thing. It's like October 7th. They were just like hoping for that. But yeah, you're right, because they got intel as well before that happened. It was literally like their 9/11 in a way. Like it's like almost uncanny in that sense. And so he writes this book. Alex Jones got super popular around that time as well because of 9/11 shit. Pretty much all the conspiracy theories that we know today, they all became popular because of 9/11 stuff. Like Alex Jones was still somewhat popular among the conspiracy people in like the mid to late 90s, but like for example, he was in a movie you talked about once. He was in a couple Richard Linklater films because he was pretty well known on the radio in Austin, where Richard Linklater is from, the filmmaker, and I think he was in like Waking Life and A Scanner Darkly, both of those. At least one of those. I don't know if he's in both of those, but yeah, and he was also in an early one too. Like I think he was in Slacker way early in Linklater's career, like the first movie that he did. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he was in both of those because it was like Richard Linklater just knew him from the radio. Like he's the local guy on the radio, nothing else. Yeah. And at that time, Alex was actually kind of funny and cool.
Yeah.
He was always right wing, but he was always very careful to not go really far into it because he wanted his audience to be as broad as possible. So, but there's little hints here and there if you know enough about right wing conspiracy theories, which I do, and I'm not tooting my own horn. It's just the fact. So, like looking back at some of these old videos, I'm like, okay, that's definitely a dog whistle to this theory or whatever. At the time, he wasn't really going like super hardcore into the right wing stuff, and even after the 9/11 stuff, he wasn't really, because like 9/11, he was saying that the Republicans who were in charge were the ones that caused the thing to happen. Yeah. So he wasn't blaming Democrats. So you're thinking, oh well, he blamed the Republicans, so that means he's not right wing. It's like, no, it doesn't mean that. It could mean that he's more right wing than the Republicans, And so all these people, they became super popular. And then David goes crazy again. He decided to take ayahuasca for some reason. I'm like, you really think it's a good idea, dude? Like, you've already got these weird shit going on with like the presence in your room, and I'm not sure if the hallucinogenics is the best thing for your brain right now. But then he got super into the energy, new age shit after that, because he believed that he saw like some goddess or something that was like giving him like spiritual messages or something like that. It told him infinite truth. No, infinite love is the only truth. Everything else is illusion. I think that was the name of his book. And that book is pretty much just like all new age shit. And it just goes on and on. I don't mean to belabor the point, but it's just like
very, very new agey. It sounds like something that you would have saw in like the late 60s, early 70s, like on a bookshelf.
I read part of it. It's not that great of a book. It's interesting, but like so the thing about David is what he does is what I mentioned earlier, is that he repeats everything he's written in his old books, and then he just has a new revelation or new theory. So the reptilian stuff was popular for a while, but that people got bored with that. You need to keep upping the ante. So then it's like, oh, what's the next thing? Oh, the next thing is that the moon actually isn't a real thing. It's actually a army base of the reptilians, and then the reptilians live underneath the moon, and then they shoot negative energy from the moon to the earth, and then that's what causes people to. It reminds me a lot of like L. Ron Hubbard, the Scientology stuff,
like Scientology shit, or some like Mormonism too, a little bit, but not fully. But yeah,
that was I have that book. I can let you borrow it. I don't think you'd want to, but
no,
that one was I think it was called Human Race, Get Off Your Knees. The Lion Sleeps No More, I think is what it was called, and that was a new theory, and like he cited this book called Who Built the Moon that like these two scientists wrote, but like again, that book was debunked many times over to like actual scientists, astrophysicists. They're like, no, nobody built the moon. That's ridiculous. Why are you talking like this? And so he used that as like his main.
Yeah, that's just a little crazy.
It's crazy. And so it's interesting too, because in that book, I think it was that book, he explains his process of how he writes things, or like how he comes up with things. And the thing he describes is literally the exact opposite of the scientific method. So he literally said in this book, yeah, sometimes I just come up with some ideas, or like the ideas come to me, and then I write about, and then I research to see if anyone's talked about it before. I'm like, dude, you're not supposed to do that. That's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to first.
I had a conversation with somebody today on Facebook who basically said that
It's like not the way you're supposed to do anything. Like, because all you're doing is cognitive.
Why should they said basically something like, why should we believe in all these scientists? Because, you know, all these people are coming out against RFK Jr. and his like quackery when it comes to medicine and everything. And this person was defending it and say, why should we believe those people? They're all elites and they don't do anything. And I said, well, there's the scientific method. That's why you should believe in them. And they said, well, why should we believe science? And I'm like, okay, I'm done talking to you.
Yeah, there's no point. Like, there's no point. And by the way, David's like super anti-vaccine. He's
oh yeah, of course.
Calls autism, or they calls other kind of birth defects, and so he's really big on that thing. He's anti-trans. He thinks, well, again, he does the same thing he does with the Jews. I don't hate trans people. I just think that they're being sold, you know, a bag of goods, and that they're actually victims by being, you know, studied and like basically being used as like lab rats. So I don't hate them. If anything, I actually feel bad for them. So I'm actually pro-trans, but in a weird way, it doesn't make any sense, except for me and other people who think like me. You know, it's like, okay, you're the thing of like trying to have it both ways. You can't do that sometimes. You just have to take a position and go with it. You can't always do this.
It's the typical transphobe argument when you tell them that they're transphobic. And they're like, no, I'm not transphobic. And they're like, I just think these people are mentally ill.
Right. But then it's like, but then you also have like have a prejudice against mentally ill people. So then you're not really saving yourself like with that argument. Yeah. And he was really big on talking about the bird flu and swine flu, saying it was like intentionally conspiracy, whatever. Like, and then so after people got bored with the moon shit, just like they got bored of the reptilian shit, he had to come up with a new idea. So then his new idea, which that's like 10 years ago, and that's when I just stopped reading he wrote, because there's just too much to go through, and I want to read like actual books of like real people saying real shit. And so his idea then was that the planet Saturn isn't actually a planet. It's actually has consciousness. It's actually a conscious being, but it's like really evil, and it wants to like kill everyone, I guess, for something. So the reptilians now actually work for Saturn. So they're not, reptilians are no longer like the head honcho. Now they are underlings of Saturn. And so like Saturn shoots its negative energy to the moon, and then from the moon, the reptilians shoot negative energy to Earth. And so and who knows, maybe now there's a new planet that is bigger than Saturn that's really controlling things. I don't know. I haven't really gotten far into that now. But
so basically Saturn is like a sentient being that, but does anybody live on Saturn, or are they it's just a thing?
He just thinks Saturn itself is, because I read this like 2 years ago, so I don't remember everything, but he says the rings around Saturn are like unnatural, so that they were like intentionally created because like they're not supposed to be the way it is, or some weird thing, I guess. I don't know. And again, he quotes some obscure, by the way, I think it was a Russian astronomer. He's always quoting Russian, so that's a whole other thing right there. It's interesting.
I always find it funny that people like this are like transphobic. Like they can't understand the idea of somebody being born in the wrong body, but they think that a planet is a sentient being.
Exactly. Or that reptilian shapeshifters or hybrid humanoids control the world. But now we find out they're actually working for Saturn. And a little point about the reptilians. So to be fair to David, okay, we gotta be fair. We're journalists here, but we gotta be fair.
Just to be clear, we are not journalists.
Oh, you're not. I do dabble in journalism, but I'm not a professional journalist. I do write.
I just want to speak for myself. I am not a journalist. I did write for a newspaper once, but I don't think that considers me a journalist. So
a little bit, kind of, but like not like super like hardcore or like doing it all the time. But Right. So to be fair to David, because again, I still have a sort of weird soft spot for him. It's it's a complicated relationship, or like not really, but whatever, complicated thing. And so he does say that some of the reptilian hybrids are good, and that some of the actual reptilians themselves are good, not just the ones who mated with the human, and that they actually are trying to help the humans by going against the other reptilians, either by infiltrating them, by making it seem like they're on their side, and then giving the intelligence to David, I guess. I don't know. That's the other thing. He does, that's what I forgot. He does say that some of these reptilian hybrids have actually contacted him directly, and they're telling him the plans of the reptilians because they're the good reptilians. But then but Dave, hold on. They're good. Go ahead. Good.
How do they contact him? Like, does he have a special cell phone that they call him on, or what's going on?
It's like they just email him, or sometimes they meet him like at his house or like in public or whatever. It like, I'm not even kidding. He just says like, yeah, sometimes he'll contact and just tell me shit like about what's gonna happen, and like they're the good ones. But I'm like, David, how do you know they're good ones? How do you know that they're like a triple agent? How do you know they're not reptilians working for the reptiles, but then they're telling you that you're on their side, but they have to pretend to be working for the reptilians in order to trick the reptilians into thinking that they're working for them, but then they're actually working for them for real, and they're giving you false information. Or who knows, maybe David's a reptilian. Maybe he is doing all this in order to trick people into thinking that the reptilians are bad, but they're not bad. I don't know, whatever. I lost my train of thought there. But like, so Saturn's real. It's a planet, but it's also a sentient being. It's evil for some reason. I don't know exactly. I don't know if he explained why they're evil.
But does he believe that Pluto's a planet or not? That's the main question. I'm joking.
I haven't gotten that far in the book, because like, this book here is like 800 pages long. I got through like 400. I'm like, I'm not reading this again. It's too much shit, because he goes through. He's like me in a way, but like times like 100, where it's like he needs you to know exactly what he thinks. Like if he has to deliberate pages to get the point across, he will. So like, I think he might be a little autistic. I'm not even. I'm serious. Like
I mean, he seems like it based on the interviews in this movie. Yeah.
Oh, I think that comes with the territory of just being very thorough, which is good. But at the same time, it's like when you're talking about Saturn and weird shit like that, it's like, do we really need to be talking about this in the first place? Let alone writing a book about it. And he says that all of the religions are secretly worshiping Saturn, and he even mentions Islam. It's like the crescent is actually supposed to be like a Saturn thing, I guess, or like the Kaaba is supposed to like an energy.
So instead of the rings around Saturn, it's a crescent.
I don't remember exactly, but he did say somehow. Oh no, he said because of the black stone that's like a meteorite that is in Saudi Arabia that people kiss, which is weird because you claim to be anti-idolatry, but then you're kissing a black. But no matter, I'm not gonna get into that. But like, there's a lot of weird stuff where religious people.
I think you're just racist. You're just upset that it's a black stone and not a white one.
Yeah, that's it. That's the reason why I converted to Islam in 2003 when I was 19 years old, and I studied it diligently for years.
You were infiltrating from the inside.
I was, and I was like one of the people like way back in 2004 when that was actually saying that it was quite possible that Muhammad was actually a black man, because there is some evidence that his tribe, his version, his subsection of his tribe actually had some African roots.
Yeah.
And like a lot of the Arab like that idea, because they don't like the idea of being led by a black person. They're like, no, he's brother, he's Arab. Okay, sure, but yeah, all right, whatever. Why do you have such a problem being led by a black man? That's a conversation that we could have. But
yes,
in-face racism, and so I was doing that shit way back then. So I'm not a racist against the black stone, because it's not a white stone. Don't put words into my mouth.
Just making sure. No, I'm joking.
It's okay to correct. It's they call it a call in, not a call out. It's a call in. Is what activists say now. Called a call in, because they don't want to embarrass you. They don't want to humiliate you. They want to talk to you. By the way, which is what Emma Vigland, not to try to go off a weird tangent here, that's what Emma Vigland did to Anna Kasparian when she started going off on her weird transphobic rant. She wanted to talk to her personally, to have a personal conversation away from Twitter, away from social media. And she's like, no, I believe what I believe. And like, okay, then there you go. Like, you don't want your mind to be open. You're right. You figured it out. So that's all you need to know. Okay, fine. I don't like the idea myself. I like learning things, but hey, whatever. I'm no journalist like she is, who doesn't like learning. What?
Yeah.
And,
again,
so
just to be clear, we are not journalists.
we're not journalists. No, we're not. But it's so like Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, all the major religions are all secretly worshiping Saturn. I don't remember all the theories why, but if he has a whole chapter dedicated to the symbolism of all the religions somehow links back to Saturn. And for some reason, Saturn is bad. He's also super obsessed with PDF files. I don't know if we're going to get demonetized, so I'm just going to not say the real word. PDF as in the
demonetized. Podcasts are like the last place you can kind of say shit. But
I know that. So he's like super obsessed with PDF files. Like he thinks everyone is part of like the secret ring. Like he thinks George W. Bush was in it. I think George H.W. He was right about the British dude, the children's show guy. Jimmy Swaggart.
Jimmy. It's
sorry.
Yeah, Jimmy Swaggart was the
that's right. He was the You're right.
It's Jimmy Savile or Savile.
Yeah, Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
Savile. Decades, like since the early 90s, he was.
Oh yeah, that guy's a creep. There's a good documentary about him on Netflix, I think, that's really worth watching. That came out a few years ago. Yeah,
and so he was right about him because he was saying that for years. But to be fair, though, a lot of people were saying that too. It wasn't just him. So, but he's super. And like he goes into it way too graphically, in my opinion, because it's like, okay, we get it. You need to be thorough. You need people to understand what you're saying. But like in this whole section, he's talking about the secret PDF file ring, and it goes on and on for like 50 pages. And he's like specifically talking about certain sex acts that the men do on the kids. And he's like graphically going, I'm like, dude, I don't need, like, he's like, they're really specifically into like anal sex. I'm like, dude, I don't want to be reading about that shit, man. Like, you don't need you don't need to say it, dude. Like, you can be subtle about it. You don't need to. I don't want to be reading stuff like that, bro. Like, I think that was the reason why. That's why I stopped, because it was in the middle of that section, and I stopped reading it like 2 years ago. That was what it was. I was like, I can't finish this section because there's like 20 more pages about it. I'm like, I don't want to be hearing this stuff. And so like he's really into that, not into it as in like he's into it, but like he's into like the conspiracy theory about it. But then like that goes into the QAnon shit, because QAnon pretty much just stole a lot of shit that he was talking about, and other conspiracy theorists were talking about. The whole thing about how they're freaking the blood of children.
That's the thing about QAnon, how they were able to get so many people involved. It's because they just kind of are a smorgasbord of conspiracy theories. So they'll take like a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and they can get all these different people interested and involved. And then if you don't believe in certain things, you're just like, oh, I don't believe that part of it, but they got to be right about something because I believe that this happened,
Right. I mean, it's the thing. Like, David has written like 22 books at this point. If you've written 22 books, and each of your book gets larger and larger, I think the latest book he wrote was like 1,000 pages long. You're gonna get some things right. That doesn't mean that like you're a prophet or like or like whatever. Like,
I mean, it's just like anybody that you believe is a prophet, like Nostradamus or anybody like that, where it's just like, yeah, he's going to maybe get something right or something similar to what's right. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's right about everything, like the Trump hats say. But yeah,
the Trump hats. Plus, too, Nostradamus, a lot of the prophecies attributed to him weren't even his own prophecies. There were people who came to him, and almost all of his prophecies is after the fact. So what's the point of a prophecy if you can't change it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like if you can't stop the prophecy from happening, but then it becomes like, well, then the prophecy wasn't true because we stopped the thing. So in a weird way, they want the prophecy to come true so they can just say that they were right. But like that means millions of people have to get killed just for you to say that you were right about something that's like weird and almost psychopathic.
And there's the type of thing with prophecy too, where somebody predicts something and then they somehow make it come into being.
Right, they create. So that's the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Yeah. The Israelis are doing that right now. Actually, the right wing, the what sect? The Orthodox, but there's like a super Orthodox within the Orthodox sect of Judaism. That's I forgot their name, Haredi or something like that. They got this prophecy where they think that a red heifer, a cow with like a certain like birthmark, is supposed to like be like the end times prophecy or the prophecy that like the Jews are finally going to take over all the land and no one but Jews is going to live there. Like everyone's going to be kicked out or killed or whatever. And like apparently this red heifer just showed up a few weeks ago. I'm like, oh great, here we go. Back in the 90s or early 2000s, something similar happened, but basically the rabbi lied because he didn't want to start a holy war. He's like, no, it's not the right one, guys. Don't worry. So he pretty much probably saved the Holy Land, like 20 years of, destruction or whatever.
Well, that's good. I'm glad he did that.
I'm glad he lied too. But for what, if anything, his lie was actually pro-Judaism because he was lying for a good cause, because it was like either I tell the truth and these crazy people are going to use that as their justification for like, I don't know, just creating settlements all over the place and kicking everyone out in one fell swoop, or I lie and I stop that from happening. So it's like he kind of did the right thing. And in Iran, the president of Iran back in like 2005, I don't remember his name, but he subscribes to a really extreme version of Shia Islam where they believe that like it's okay to like usher in prophecies, like not allowing them to naturally unfold, but that you're allowed to actually like make it happen sooner than when it's supposed to happen, which doesn't make any sense, but like that's what he believes, right? So he was intentionally doing shit like to provoke like other countries in like the 2005 era of history because he thought like this would bring on like the final holy war or whatever. Religious people can be fucking weird, dude. Like I'm not trying to be mean, but like it can get really dicey sometimes, really, really dicey. And David's super anti-religion, so I guess he's got something going on there where he understands a little bit about the brainwashing that can happen. And I mean, I could pretty much stop here because like
if you watch Henry, you know what's going on here. The one question I do have for you before we wrap this up is, was he right?
In some ways, he was right. But again, when you write 75 books and there's 2,000 pages a piece, you're going to get things right.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously exaggerate.
Stopped clock is right twice a day, so it's going to happen. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
but I will say this positively about him: he is open-minded thinker. He pretty much almost too open-minded because he just pretty much entertains any idea that comes his way. So that's gonna be bad in its own way. But like he's never shied away from a theory. Like sometimes he'll literally would just contradict himself and just say like, oh yeah, I was fucking wrong. Like basically about the turquoise thing. You're like, yeah, that was my turquoise era where I was just thought that was like, yeah, I had to wear turquoise all the time. He's like making fun of himself because he's like, yeah, at the time, so many concepts and ideas were just pouring into my brain and I had no way of like how to process it. Like, and
it was like his Picasso blue period. It was his turquoise period. Yeah. No.
It was his turquoise period. So like he'll sometimes just kind of like full out admit that like, yeah, I was kind of fucking wrong about that, So like there are some positive things about him, but unfortunately I think a lot of the bad shit overrides the positive stuff because of how bad the bad stuff is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the anti-Semitism, anti-trans stuff. Those are the main things. He's pretty cool on like labor rights, worker rights, that whole stuff. But like, people being free from like the Orwellian nanny state, etc. But like, it's when he starts like quoting these right-wing sources and he gets super defensive about that too. He's like, yeah, people get mad at me. I don't understand why. I don't really believe everything these guys saying. I'm just saying I believe this thing. It's like, yeah, but like politics is not a buffet, bro. Like there's people have certain ideas because they connect to other ideas. You can't just like take one like, oh, I like the chicken, lo mein, I'm gonna take that. Oh, they got French fries. It's like that's not how that works, bro. Like they all connect to each other, and you can't just be like, oh yeah, I like what the John Birch Society says about this point, but right now I'm gonna quote Noam Chomsky 2 pages later. I'm like, they're completely opposed to each other. Like
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's
So yeah, that's our review of David Icke. Was he right? Yeah, I found it interesting. Yeah, I don't know if it's a review or as much as it's talk about it. But yeah, if you found this interesting, please go to all2reeltoo.com. Check out our links. Go to our social media. There's links on there to that. Check out our TeePublic. It's a way to buy stuff to help support the show. Patreon, that's a great way to help support the show. We won't, either place, we won't sell you into any conspiracies except for the fact that All2ReelToo is the greatest podcast ever, and you must give us your money.
Yes, you have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Saturn's going to get mad at you, and it's going to shoot its negative rays at you. So,
And we will have deep debates about things like, is Pluto a planet or is it a dog? And yes,
I mean that's
pretty important. Yeah, because a dog is a sentient being, but is a planet. But is it just a gaseous thing in space? Is it really a planet? What is it? Also, you can just tell your friends to listen to us. That's a good way. Comment on this post where you can. Also, give us a 5-star review if you can. Give us a thumbs up. Give us whatever, a meow meow bean, whatever you got to do to help support us. Whatever they're using these days, and just be different. Be yourself, folks. Remember that trans lives are human lives. No human is illegal. Free Palestine. Fuck the oligarchy. There are some things I agree with David Icke. The elites are fucking this world up. Just remember that I love you. Saturn is sentient, I guess.
yes.
I'm a lizard person, and Sesame loves you. And until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All2ReelToo podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.
As a raider scavenging a derelict world, you settle into an underground settlement. But now you must return to the surface, where Arc machines roam. If you're brave enough, who knows what you might find? Arc Raiders, a multiplayer extraction adventure video game. Buy now for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Rated T for teen.
When you walk into a Burlington, you're walking into amazing prices and great gifts. That's main character energy. Because at Burlington, the holiday savings aren't the only things turning heads. Discover quality finds and perfect presents for everyone on your list, even those who are hard to shop for. Toys and jewelry to new beauty brands and styles, these gifts go seamlessly from our stores to under your tree. Seriously, with these savings, why shop anywhere else?
Burlington deals, brands, wow.
Next up is a little song from CarMax about selling a car your way.
You wanna sell those wheels, you wanna get a CarMax instant offer.
So fast.
Wanna take a sec to think about it.
Or like a month.
Wanna keep tabs on that instant offer.
With Offer Watch.
Wanna have CarMax pick it up from your driveway. Get it done today. You wanna do
So, wanna drive? CarMax. Pickup not available everywhere. Restrictions and fee may apply.